Of all the disciplines of woodworking that I'm involved with, wood turning tends to be the one that most people have questions about or have interest in. So while I turn this piece, maybe I'll tell you why I like wood turning. The biggest reason has to be the fact that wood turning is so satisfying. When with these slight cuts you're making all these shavings come off and you're revealing all the different grain patterns underneath. It's very satisfying. At about this point, I realized I cannot put a coherent sentence together while I'm turning. So from this point onwards, it's voiceover time. So as I said, turning is really satisfying, just seeing those shavings come off. But it's also very meditative. You're pretty much standing still. All your movements are tiny, they're micro movements. And you're very present. You're feeling the vibration of the tool against the wood, and you're listening to the sound the lathe makes. You really tune out and go back into yourself. Really, you're really present, really meditative. Another good thing about turning is that from a skill level, it doesn't really take much to get started. I reckon about 1 hour in, and you'll already be able to make something quite useful. While I've had the lathe for years now, I'm very much just a dabbler. I reckon I've made maybe 30 things in total, and I've made bowls and plates and cups, containers. Yeah, it really doesn't take long to get started and produce something. It also doesn't take that long to actually produce an object. It's quite quick to turn a plate or a bowl. Mind you, part of it, being meditative, you lose track of time. But if I'm in the mood after work, I could easily make an object before I go to bed. And that's another thing. The lathe is actually pretty quiet. When you compare to some other power tools such as circular saws and the like, I'm quite comfortable running it at night time. Well, I haven't had any police come over or the neighbours complaining, not from the lathe. So yeah, that's another benefit as well. Turning is also very organic. Um, you you can't go wrong, so to speak. When you're building a box or a cabinet, you know when it's out of square or the joints don't align. But with turning, it's curves, it's whatever shape you desire. It's not wrong. It's just what you're feeling at the time or how the wood called to you, I suppose. In fact, I find the measuring and designing a bit of a turn off when it comes to those other types of projects, such as making a box or a drawer or a cabinet. With wood turning, you just grab a piece, chuck it on, and you kind of figure it out as you go. And with the box making, for example, you don't know where you went wrong or that you did go wrong until you start putting it together. Like these mistakes, the compounding errors kind of only show up at glue up time or after glue up time. But yeah, with wood turning, you're constantly learning and you're getting feedback instantly. Like you feel how the gouge caught the wood or tore the grain. And then when you make a mistake, it's relatively easy to adjust. You change the shape a bit. You make it less round. You make it taller. Um, yeah, the mistakes are kind of what dictates the output or the end result in some ways. And you forget those mistakes. You look at the end product and there's no trace of that mistake. Whereas you look at your earlier cabinets you've built, and those ill-fitting joints are constantly staring at you, taunting you. It's also surprising what you can make with turning. You've got two main categories, spindles and hollow forms. With spindles, that's like solid objects. You can make tops and figurines and legs for chairs and tables and tool handles, pens, salt and pepper shakers. With hollow forms, you can make cups and vases and plates and bowls and round boxes. And that's just the simple, most basic forms. Although it's easy to get started and you don't need a high skill level to get started in turning, it's actually quite deep. To really master the use of the tools, like mastering the skew chisel, for example, it's I can never see myself mastering it, to be honest. And you can actually be quite adventurous with turning. You can experiment with offset turning and cutting an object and re-gluing it and then turning it. Um, yeah, there's a lot of adventurous people out there that can inspire you. So it's not a hobby that you'd easily get bored of. There's more and more you can do. It's quite fascinating in that regard. I also like that it's not prohibitively expensive to get into turning. The current lathe I'm using is secondhand. The first two lathes I got were also secondhand. The first one was free, one was tiny. The second one was, I guess it was almost free. I don't remember how much I paid. And I don't think I really paid that much for this one either. Um, there's a lot of deals you can find. And the materials for turning tend to be free. When you're making fine furniture, you usually have to pay a lot to get big, straight, flat boards. But when it comes to turning, it very much is grabbing stuff off the side of the road. Um, ugly pieces of timber, pieces from the firewood pile. In fact, sometimes the more ugly the piece, the more amazing the grain is. So yeah, it's quite cost effective. I guess that sums up why I've continued to invest time and money into turning into what's been a very rewarding pastime. I'd be interested to hear what other people's journeys have been like, so please feel free to comment. And thanks for watching.